All right. So there's no code examples filed for today and no exercise because we can't actually do this type of programming in MATLAB Grader. And in terms of an example, well, you really just have to kind of go through it and see how it's done. So let me just guide you through this exercise. We're going to make a little program to add two numbers. So just kind of try to follow along with me. And the way you start is you type app designer. App designer, all in one word. And that will open up this utility. So this shows you a bunch of built-in examples that you can look at. But all we're going to do just a blank app. So just click on blank app. And that will create this little palette. And over on the left are various kinds of objects that you can drag and drop onto this palette. So if you've ever done anything like, say, LabVIEW programming, this is very similar. So let's think about what we want to do here. We want to make a program where we can put in two numbers, click a button, and it'll display the sum of the two numbers. So the first thing I need is two boxes to enter the numbers in. And that's called an edit field. So you see right here, it says edit field numeric. Now there's also edit field text, but in this case, we're entering numbers, so we want to use numeric. So grab that, put it on the palette. All right. And then do another one. You can either click and drag it again, or you can copy and paste this one. Control C, Control V to copy and paste. I want to get these aligned, so I just kind of drag it around. And notice when it's aligned, MATLAB will helpfully give me these guidelines. It's showing me now they're aligned. Now, right now, they both just say edit field. That's not what I want. I want something that identifies it. Although in this case, it's just two numbers I'm adding. So let's just say number 1 and number 2. So you just double click on this title and put whatever you want. Now, anytime you click on an object, you'll see over on the right, something opens up called the component browser. And it shows you all the properties of that object, like the font size and which font. So let's say we're going to make the font a little bigger. Right now it's defaulting to 12. Let's change it to 14. And then do the same thing for the other one. And you can change things like the background color. It's just defaulting to white, but let's say I want to make it red for some reason. Okay, that looks really terrible, so I'm going to get away from that. All right, but you can do all these things to improve the appearance of your GUI. Different fonts, different background colors, text colors, and so forth. All right, but I've got my two numbers now. I can, how'd that happen? Now I'm going to leave it alone. So I'll be able to enter the two numbers. The next thing I want to do is click a button to do the calculation. So I need to go get a button here from the menu. And you see right there, button. Click and drag that. Put it somewhere on your palette. But I want to make it bigger again. And I also want to change it. So instead of just saying button, it says maybe calculate. All right. And let's make the font size bigger. So it's only 12. Let's make it 18 or something. Maybe even 24. Okay. One more thing I want to point out to you. So anytime you click on a number, right, and it's showing you the property, or click on an object and it's showing you the properties of that object, one thing you're going to see is up here is the tag or handle for that object. All right, so this object has a handle, app.calculate button. I'll need to know that when I go to program it. All right, one more thing we need. So we can put in the two numbers, click calculate, it calculates the sum. we need to display the result. So the way you do that, or at least one way to do it, is just with a text label. So you see right here, it says label. You can put that here. And let's make that much bigger. Let's go like 32 or something. Okay. And I don't want it to be just called label. Let's call it result. Right, so now its handle will automatically be changed to app.result_label. Okay, so that's how I'll refer to it when I want to program it. But when it comes up, I don't really want it to say result. I probably want it to just say 0. That's typically when you open a calculator and you haven't done anything yet, it shows a 0, right? So under here somewhere should be the text right here in this box text. Change that to a 0. All right. So that way it's displaying a 0, but its tag, oh, it did change it. We just changed it back to app.label. Okay. I didn't realize it was going to do that, but you can make the tag whatever you want. So it's defaulting to just app.label, but I'm going to change it to what I want it to be, which is app.result label. Okay. All right. So MATLAB will pick a default tag for each object. You see it says number 1 edit field, number 2 edit field, calculate button. But if you want to choose something different, you can edit it. Make it whatever you want. And I chose to change this one back to result label. All right, so those are all the functional elements that we need for this simple little program. But one more thing, just to make it look a little nicer, it really looks kind of drab right now. Let's put what's called a panel. And it doesn't really serve any purpose in a simple application like this, but for more complicated ones, it's a nice way to organize things. Like you can have multiple panels. One has the input parameters, one has the control buttons, one displays the results, something like that. So let's grab a panel. So it's down here under containers. Grab a panel, put it here. Now it's really better to put the panel first because then you have to move the objects into the panel. So it's going to be a little bit inconvenient, but it's not that big a deal. Right? So then you have to drag all these things into the panel. And you can resize things as you need to. Just position it however you want. But everything's got to go inside the panel. Otherwise, it's going to get hidden. And then the other advantage to putting things in the panel, when you're repositioning things afterwards, you can grab the panel and move it around, and everything that's in the panel will go with it. Okay. All right. And now that I've got them in that panel, I can see I've really got a lot of dead space here. Let's just shrink this palette a little bit. Okay. All right, and then one more thing. Let's give it a title. Instead of just saying panel, let's make it say, I don't know, simple adder or something. And maybe increase the font size again. Let's go to maybe 18. Okay. And then maybe one more thing. Let's move all this down. So you can do any of the things that you typically do in graphics programs like PowerPoint or whatever. Select and then drag, okay, just to move those down. And then maybe put some instructions up here, put another text label. It says something like, enter numbers in both boxes and click calculate. And let's make that bigger. Let's go, I don't know, 20. All right. And let's maybe change the color. Let's make that a little more visible. Make it blue. All right. That's pretty much it. those are all the elements we need for this little application. So let's save it. And we're just going to call it, put it in the right place first. I'm just going to call it adder. And what did it just create? It created a file called adder.mlapp. Wrong place. Okay, so adder.mlapp. Okay, so that's the extension that tells you this is a MATLAB app, not just a regular .m file. So when you do the application assignments, that's what you'll submit in Carbon, just the ML app file. And if you have any supporting functions in .m files, you'll submit those as well. All right, so now I've got this app. I can run it. It won't do much, but I can run it. Okay, so I run it and this opens up. I can click calculate. And of course, nothing's going to happen because I didn't program the button yet. I didn't tell it what's going to happen when I click the calculate button. Right? But MATLAB has done all the code to do the graphics for me. And you can see that. You go to the code view. Okay, so this is called the design view. You click on this other tab, you go to the code view. And this is all the code that MATLAB generated for you to do the graphics. You never edit any of this. Okay? Your code goes in what are called callback functions. I'll show you that in a second. But all the stuff that's already here that was generated by MATLAB, actually, it won't even let you edit it anymore. It used to be with the old utility called guide. You could edit this and it would really cause problems. So now in App Designer, it doesn't even let you edit the code other than what you put in these callbacks. All right, so what do I mean by callback? I mean, it's how you program what's going to happen when this button is clicked. Or let's say you have a menu. You program what happens when the user selects something from the menu. Or what happens when he does a mouse click, whatever. And so for this simple one, all we need is a callback to program what happens when we click the calculate button. So you go to the code view, and you click this plus over here to add a callback. Make sure you're on the callbacks tab, and then you click plus. Then you select which component you're programming. Well, it's the button, so the calculate button. And in some cases, there might be more than one callback you can specify, but for a button, there isn't. There's only one. So button pushed function. Okay, what happens when the button is pushed? And you click add callback. Now it'll have a default name here, like calculate button pushed. You can change that if you want, but I'm just going to leave it as it is. All right, so you see it added this little function calculate button pushed. And I put the code in there to program what the button does. All right, so let me pause for a few seconds, let you digest that. Any questions about any of this? Yeah, I mean, doing the layout is straightforward. It's just a matter of playing with these menus, dragging and dropping things. And anytime you want to customize something, double click and you can edit it. And in the code view, you're going to add a callback for every object that you want to program. Right? So if you have a button, you want to specify what happens when you click that button, you add a callback for that button. All right, so what does this button have, or what does the callback for the button have to do? Let's just describe it in comments first. So we need to read the two numbers from the boxes. Add them, of course, and display the result. Well, let's start with the easy one first, the thing you already know how to do, which is adding them. So let's say we're going to have two variables, number 1 and number 2, and we add them to get total. Nothing new there. You've done that a million times. The question is, where are we going to get number 1 and number 2? We read them from the boxes. So how do you specify that? Well, you go look at, you actually don't have to go back here to look at this, but just to show you. Okay, I want to get the number out of this box. If I click on that, I can see its handle is app.number1 edit field. So that's what I put here. App.number1. And you can see as I start typing it, it helpfully suggests how to complete it. So I can just click on that. But I'm not quite done. That's not complete because this edit field, it's a graphical object. It has all kinds of properties. I want to specify which property I'm reading, which is what's called the value field. All right, so that's how you read a number. Read the value from an edit field. Let's say from the edit box. All right. And then do the same thing with the second one. Make that number 2 and make this number 2. All right, so I've read the 2 numbers. Let's just do this part and see how, make sure that works. So just as a temporary measure, I'm just going to do a disp of total. Of course, you never do this in a graphical program. You don't, when you're doing GUI programming, you don't do any command line input or output. This is just for debugging. All right, so I should now, when I run this, be able to put numbers in these 2 fields. It should read them, calculate the total, and then display it. It's not displaying it here yet because I didn't program that part yet. I'm just doing it in the command line right now. But you see I get 358. All right, so that part seems to be working. All right, now let's go do the other part where it'll display the result to the command, to the GUI. Take that out. All right, so this is how you read a value from a graphical object. What we want to do here is the opposite. We want to change the value. So we do app dot, and what was that called? It was called result label. Now this is a text object, a text label. So to change what it displays, I use the text field. Text. And that's not value in this case. It's only value for an edit field. For a text label, it's the text field. And what do I want it to be? Well, I want it to be total, but total's a number, it's not a string. So convert it to a string using num to str. All right. And that should do it. So let's run that and see if it works. Well, I think it worked. The problem is I didn't make this wide enough, so it couldn't display it. So let's go fix that. I mean, you can go back and forth between the code view and the design view as needed. All right, so we make this wider so it can display bigger numbers. And try it again. And notice you can click run either from the design view or from the code view. All right. And it should let me put in negative numbers as well. find the dash. Where is it? Okay. So that's basically it. That's the basic skill that you need for right now. Reading values from an edit field, doing whatever you normally do, and then displaying the result to a text label. Or if you chose to use an edit field for the output, you can do that. And then it would be the value. And then you wouldn't need num to string. So let's put that as a comment, alternate. If the output is an edit field, then you would do this. So then the tag would probably be result edit field dot value equals total. So why would you do that? Well, there's really no good reason to do that. Typically, you use edit fields if the user is going to be putting a number in that box. And if the program is going to be changing it, then you can just use a label. But some people just like the appearance of the edit field better. All right, so somebody asked the question, what would happen if the user entered a non-number? Let's find out. It won't let you do it. Value must be numeric. Okay. And it just defaulted back to 0 then. All right, so with nice thing about doing GUIs with App Designer, it's got a lot of the error checking built in. If you were doing this with a dialog box like we showed you before, you would have to do the error checking. Okay, and also you can set limits. Like let's say, right now you see the limits for this are set to -infinity to infinity. So you can put any number you want. But if you wanted to limit it only to positive numbers, say, you could put in 0, comma, is. And now it won't let you put in a negative number. Can't imagine any good reason to do that, but let's do it anyway. So now if I try to put in a negative number, it says value must be between 0 and infinity. Right? And then it'll default back to 0. All right, let me just show you a couple more details. So let's add a couple more buttons. Let's do a clear button and an exit button. Let's do copy and paste. So I just did a copy and paste so that the button, make sure the buttons will look the same. And let's make this one clear and this one exit. All right, so now I've got an app.clear button and I've got an app.exit button. So I'm going to need to add callbacks for those two buttons to program what happens when the user clicks clear or exit. Now another way, little shortcut here. Notice it shows a little thumbnail of your GUI over here. You can click on the button and then do the plus. And now it knows specifically you're adding a callback for the clear button. Okay, so now we've got a callback, clear button pushed. What do we want to do in that case? Well, we just want to set everything back to 0. So let me copy this. All right, so I'm setting the edit field's value back to 0. Okay, so that will change it to 0 in the display. And then the same thing with the other one. 2. And then set the result also back to 0. Let's make sure that works. Okay. And the last thing we need is the exit button. So let's click on that. Add the callback. And this only has to do one thing. It's just going to close the GUI. You do that with one instruction, app.delete. There are other ways of doing it, but that's the most concise way. Just put app.delete. And that'll close the GUI. Calculate. I can change the numbers as many times as I want and keep clicking calculate. I can clear, and then I can exit. All right, so that's really nice because we made this rather complicated little program. And we've got about 8 lines of code. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And if I'm concise enough, I should be able to get this all on the screen here. Take out some of the blank space. All right. All right, so that's the whole program right there. Any question about any of that? All right, let's look at the application. So this is, as I said, a really short, simple one. No reason you can't get it done by next time. So for the TAs who were in the class before, we have simplified this. It used to be more complicated where you would have these 4 boxes and you could enter a number in any 3 of the 4, and then you'd calculate what goes in the 4th one. Well, we just decided to simplify it because we just wanted it to be a little exercise rather than, a complicated program. So it's a loan calculator where you're going to enter numbers in the first 3. You're going to specify how much money you're borrowing, how many payments, how many monthly payments, and then the interest rate. So you put like, I'm borrowing $17,000. I'm going to pay it back over 60 months, and the interest rate is 3%. You click calculate, and it'll calculate the payment amount. And it's just a simple formula. Okay, given the amount that you borrowed, A, the interest rate, I, and the number of payments, N, here's how you calculate the monthly payment. One little detail, though, this little number, little I, is not the percentage interest rate. It's the interest rate per month as a decimal. So you take the number that was entered here, the annual interest rate as a percentage, that's capital I, and you divide it by 1,200. You're dividing it by 100 to convert from percentage to decimal, and then dividing by 12 to turn it from annual to monthly. All right, and that's the number that goes in here. Everything else is just like what we did. Okay? Reading the edit boxes, do the calculation. So you enter a callback for the calculate, and then displaying it. Now, if you choose to do it the way it's shown here with an edit box, an edit field, then you would do it the way it's shown in the comment here. If you choose to make it a text label, either one is acceptable, then you can do it this way. All right, any question about that? Well, we're just asking you to do one little bit of error checking. In this case, it doesn't make sense for any of these numbers to be less than or equal to 0. So you're going to check for that. Now, you could actually set the limits in the GUI to enforce that. But instead of that, we're just going to have you do the error checking yourself. So before you do the calculation, just make sure that all these numbers are greater than or equal to 0. Okay, so if I wanted to impose that in this problem, it wouldn't make any sense in this case, but let's say I did, then I would do if number 1 greater than or equal to 0, and 2 greater than or equal to 0. Then I do all this. Otherwise, I display an error message. In place of this result, I would put numbers must be positive. Okay, so now if I try to put in a negative number here, whoops, what did I do here? Oh, I make a typo. Oh, because I'm sorry, I put that in the wrong place. I tried to look at the values of number 1 and 2 before I got them out of the boxes, so that's got to go here. Okay. All right, but then I need to go back to the designer and stretch that so it can display the whole thing, but that's no big deal.